Hi, this is Corey Johnston, and the title we've elected to call this discourse is The Story of Creation in the Book of Psalms. So when we think of the story of creation, 9 out of 10 times we'll think of Genesis 1, but creation is an unfolding process. The expansion and evolutionary nature of it were established in Genesis 1, so it kind of bleeds throughout the Bible, and what we read of in Genesis 1 is certainly foundational to everything else we believe, because if you don't believe Genesis 1:1, you're going to, the rest of the Bible isn't going to make sense. And what we learn in that is that the existence of creation implies the existence of a creator who was all-knowing. In other words, he was able to conceive a perfect and wise design, and he was all-powerful, omnipotent, able to execute that design into motion, and he is omnipresent, that's capable of being everywhere at once. So he reveals much of himself in his creation. This is a species of general revelation, which is nature. So we observe the creation and we deduce insights and revelations of the creator from what we see in creation, and it really takes the eyes of sight to see him, because his invisible essences are manifested, to take it to the New Testament, Romans 1:20, in the visible things of the world. So much of Genesis 1:1, now the story of creation rebounds throughout the Old Testament, both in the law, because they're frequently reminded to of the Sabbath on that day, that established a day of rest and worship and fellowship, and a day devoted to all things sacred, and that was rooted in the creation. And also the prophecies, those who had been blessed and endowed with special revelation, that is one thing of prophecy, they had some pretty interesting insights on general or natural revelation from that. And in the writings, in the category of wisdom literature, I think the 8th book of Proverbs personifies wisdom as an agent of the creation. So that is, wisdom literature. And also in Job, we read, where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? We also read that the stars danced and rejoiced at their creation, so there was a heavenly harmony between the created bodies. And in Ecclesiastes 3:11, we read that he who created everything created eternity in our hearts, and that says a lot. But in the Psalms, this is in everything that the book that you can read of in creation. In the book of the Psalms, my aim is to construct puzzle pieces of a coherent puzzle. That being said, we're going to open with the opening verse, the 6th verse of the 33rd chapter. By the word of Yahweh the heavens were made, and all their host by the breath of his mouth. This so everything in the heavens and every star that shines in the heavens was spoken into existence. Now the visible things in motion were born of something invisible, and our words are invisible, but they're certainly tangible. They exist in the same sensory plane of most animals. Most animals that have sight hear sound as well. So the origin, the one who proclaimed that word was the uncreated creator who has always existed, dwelled in eternity, and was omniscient, able to conceive a wise and perfect design, omnipotent, capable to put it in motion and execute that design, and omnipresent. So he's everywhere at once, and he veils himself in nature, but to the discerning eye that can unveil him, they have insights and revelation as to who he is and what he is like. For he spoke and it came to be. He commanded and it stood fast. So the elements in motion, the laws of physics, are subjected to his command. They can go no further than he decries it. So everything in physical motion was originated with a verb, so everything that is in existence was spoken into existence. So it is from the sense of sound that everything in sight has its origins. And the next one we're going to turn to is 140, verse 30. 104, rather, verse 30. We're going to return to the 104th later, but for here, this reminds us of Genesis 1:2. You sent forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the earth. So creation has an origin, but it's also a process. It's a renewal. So the story of creation is not completed in Genesis 1, but it bleeds into the rest of the Bible and beyond the Bible. We are living in Genesis 1. And so the Spirit is the creative agent. He's mentioned as the one who hovered over the vastless form in the second verse of the first chapter of Genesis. And creation is also a process of renewal. And the history of theology is very much one of creation and redemption. And so his ministry exists. He created everything in pristine form, and the redemptive ministry is returning everything to its proper form and intent. And the 121st verse, chapter, second verse, my help comes from Yahweh, maker of the heavens and the earth. This is a song by an anonymous psalmist, but within the psalmist we get the full range of human perspective. A lot of times they're rejoicing, a lot of times they're suffering in the mud. So there are highs and there are lows, but whether we abase or abound, our help can come from Yahweh. Whatever our circumstances, the one who controls all circumstances is a powerful ally to have on our side. And the fact that he can help us is rooted in his creative prowess. So he who spoke the heaven and the earth into existence can certainly give me the counsel I need to triumph over my circumstances, which he is really in control of. So we have to surrender control to him and not our own response to our own circumstances whenever negative circumstances which try to overwhelm us manifest their ugly head in our life. And this is repeated by David, who's identified as the author of the 124th Psalm in the 8th verse. Our help is in the name of Yahweh, maker of the heavens and the earth. Not a whole lot new, except this time we read name of Yahweh. So it's just Yahweh himself in the 121st Psalm, second verse, but the name is the controlling element. A name is representative and reflective and embodying an expression of the one to whom that name's attached, reputation and authority. So the name of Yahweh is the same force or power of Yahweh himself. Then on 19:1, this, remember, we're talking about the ones who created the heavens, and one of the reasons that he created the heavens, we read in this one, the opening verse of the 19th Psalm. The heavens are proclaiming the esteem of Elohim, and the expanse is declaring the works of his hands. So the heavens and the outer space and the heavens are an expression and manifestation of his beauty and his glory and his grandeur and everything positive one can associate with him. They are connected to the essence of the one who made it, and everything that is in the expanse, that means the heavens. There are three levels of heaven. One is the sky, two is the universe, three is heaven, and that tier. But they all exist to declare the work and point to the Creator. So it's up to our eyes to see his hand in what we see, and that takes a conscious effort to do it. But, being told that everything in creation owes its origin to him, he has left fingerprints of his very self in every item in creation, and it's incumbent upon us to access and unlock it through the eyes of faith. The 8th chapter, 3rd and 4th verse. For I see your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have established. So the psalmist is looking above him. He's overwhelmed by the sight and spectacle of the heavens and everything in them, the stars, the moon, everything that's there was created by him, and they are vaster than him. They are beyond him. They are more significant in size, but he marvels at the fact that the one who created him is affectionately invested in him and generally out for his welfare. So the physical size of humans in the universe should not belittle our central significance in the affection and esteem of we are the prized creation of our Creator who longs to bring us home. So the psalmist writes in the next verse, what is man that you remember him, and the son of man that you visit him? So, in light of the sight of the vastness of the universe, we have cause to be grateful that on this tiny blue dot, we are the center of Yahweh's plan for the universe. And, why is the universe so much bigger than us? Because the one who created the universe is even bigger than it. But, we are important. We're not, the same significance as God, but our significance comes from God, and we are significant as the prize items of his affection, attention, and love. So of all things in the universe, he is most concerned for the souls of his prize creation, which are us humans. The 104th verse, we're going to read, prioritize our place in creation in light of the vast infinitude of things which are in it, because we share the created world with a host of other things, each of which are in their own way fingerprint of the creator. This is going to be a long pat. We're going to do the 104th Psalm, and we're going to read it from the 10th to the 24th verse. So we're going to open with the 10th. Who is sending the springs into the valleys? They flow among the hills. They give drink to every beast of the field. Wild donkeys break their thirst. So the obvious answer is the creator, the one who created the waters and put them in motion, is the one who's going to send them and keep it in motion in order that the beast of the field and the other wild donkeys, his other creation, could be nourished and sustained by that which he also created. The birds of the heaven dwell beside them. They sing from between the branches, watering the hills from his upper rooms. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of your works. The earth has no reason not to be satisfied by the fruit of its works, because without the fruit of his works, the earth could not be in existence. So everything that good that comes from it is created and returned to the one who declared it good to begin with, but his prize creation, man, kind of set about this cosmic disequilibrium in the natural elements on account of our sin, causing the grass to grow for the cattle and plants for the service of mankind, to bring forth food from the earth, and wine that makes glad the heart of man, oil to make the face shine, and bread which sustains man's heart. So all these delicacies, all these non-essential luxury items of dining and delicacy are the gift of God to man, and we must acknowledge them accordingly and not abuse it. So, the wine is, the scriptures doesn't command complete abstinence, but it does condemn the sin of drunkenness, and just about everywhere that word is mentioned. But, we have a respectful and responsible moderation we can impose on ourselves unless we're totally committed to being a complete teetotaler, as I personally am. But the trees of Yahweh are satisfied, the cedars of Lebanon which he planted, where the birds make nests, the stork her home in the fir trees. The high hills are for wild goats, rocks a refuge for badgers. He made the moon for appointed times. The sun knows it's going down. So every animal and everything in the sky that is in motion and creation, of whose origins we read in Genesis 1, the sun and the moon were established as the light in the firmament for the earth, and the day and the night on day 4. And but everything in creation is incapable of obeying or fulfilling its nature or what it was set in motion to do. You put down darkness, and it is night, and the beast all in it the beasts of the forest creep. The young lions are roaring for prey and seeking their food from El. The sun arises, they withdraw and lie down in their dens. Man goes out to his work and to his labor till evening. So all these animals that are listed in all the items in creation, the sun, the stars, the animals, everything else, are all cared for by the Creator who created them and put them in motion, and they owe their existence to him. But then we leave off with man, and we are, to labor. Labor is a condition of our creation. We are to be co-creators in the Creator. We are in the creation. We have our own contribution to make in the story of creation, which is unfolding before our very eyes, literally as we speak, always as we speak. So there is never a moment in time where creation is not unfolding. We were created with the capacity to put our stamp on it for the better. So how are you making the most of your God-given resources in light of the God-given opportunities is the question we have to answer. On the 49th through the 12th through 15th verse. But man does not remain in esteem. He is like the beasts that perish. So this is a shock to our egos and a blow to our pride. We are told we are more important than beasts, and we certainly like to consider ourselves better than them and them as to being subordinate of us, but we are very much equal with them in that we are designed to decay and perish and die. So we're going to, when death comes, we're going to be no different, no better off than a beast that was once alive. This way of theirs is folly to them, yet their followers are pleased with their words. Salah. Salah indicates to take a meditative pause to really think about what you just observed. That's the term in Hebrew. That's how the Psalms are supposed to be read, so not the whole way through. Whenever the word Salah appears, that's when you need to take a break in a meditative rest. But what sort of sprang to my mind is the way seeming folly, and but their followers, they have itching ears. They tell them what they want to know and not what they need to know, what they like to hear rather than what they need to know. In the 103rd chapter, 13 through 17. As a father has compassion for his children, so Yahweh has compassion for those who revere him. So as our creator, he is our father, we are his children, he is our progenitor, he's the one to whom we all owe creation, and he is compassionate and forgiving and merciful to us as if we were children. And so he does, his compassion is especially extensive to those who fear him. For he knows how we are made. He remembers that we are dust. As our creator, he knew that he was creating us with the liability and potential to abuse our agency and to feed our flesh or to succumb to Satan. But he's the one who created with the dust, and he created us with our weaknesses for a reason. Without struggle, salvation would be worthless if we didn't have to undergo this period, this probationary period, this test and trial of life as we know it, then we could not appreciate salvation. A man's days are as grass, as a flower of the field, so he flourishes. So we're degraded to the same level even of the grass of the field. Earlier we read that we met the same destiny, we're destined for the same fate as the beast of the field. Here, even the flower of the grass, it comes, it goes, it vanishes, it is no more. That is how we are going to be. So we are no different from any life form, no matter how inferior to its existence. For the wind blows over it, and it is no more, and its place no longer remembers it. So once it's up and gone, it's not even there. It's as if it never existed in the first place. The memory and the sight of it is gone, so it is no more. It has no more existence in memory. But the kindness of Yahweh is from everlasting to everlasting upon those who fear him, and his righteousness to children's children. So the kindness, which is a quality or attribute of Yahweh and divinity, is eternal because he himself is eternal. So every other quality that he is every other quality combined in it. So when we say that he is kind, he is also eternally kind because he is also eternal, and there exists no variance in his nature or character. But, without that everlasting kindness, we could have no eternal forgiveness. And but it's really dependent. The condition we have to meet is to fear him. This is the foundation which is the key which unlocks his forgiveness, and his righteousness will become our righteousness. So we have no righteousness in ourselves. On our best day, our best works are likened to filthy rags before him who is without blemish, but he does impute the righteousness through his Son to us, and his righteousness becomes our righteousness, enabling us to stand in the presence of the Father and be expected, not as we are, but who we are in the Son. And the final one we're going to comment on is 102 verses 25-27. You founded the earth of old, and the heavens are the works of your hands. So before the foundation of the earth, he existed. Before the universe was in motion, he existed. He's always existed. He's never not existed. He is a pre-existent and eternally existent being. So before anything in creation was there, Yahweh always was, and Elohim more broadly speaking. They shall perish, but you remain, and all of them that grow old like a garment. You change them like a coat, and they are changed. So even though every created creature is designed to die, decay, and perish in accordance to the laws of life and the laws of physics, he is eternal and enduring and unchangeable and immutable. So everything that of those qualities are once again eternal because they spring from the one who is eternal. And so even though everything else in nature dies, decays, and perishes, he remains, and he is unchangeable, and he is also the author of change, but the one who set the evolutionary and expansive nature of creation in motion is himself static in regards to evolution and all that stuff. 27th verse, but you are the same, and your years have no end. His years not only have no end, but they have no beginning. So before time itself was placed in motion, of which we read of as early as the first verse of the first chapter in Genesis, and by connection the Bible, in the beginning. So beginning had an origin. The time was created to Elohim, of whom we read, created everything in the universe, and so before everything that was, he was always there. His years are without beginning, and they will be without end. And it is a supreme act of his sovereign grace to share some of his eternality with the creatures that he's even mindful of can become made immortal through eternal salvation, even though we have definitive points of origins and therefore are not eternal. We can become immortal through the creative powers, sovereign grace. So I hope that's the reason you're here. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Take care until next time. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.